Have you ever been scrolling online and just stopped because you saw a claim so absolutely wild you didn't even know what to think? From miracle cures to shadowy conspiracies, our world is, well, it's noisy. So today, we're going to build a mental toolkit, one that'll help you slice right through that noise and figure out what's real. Let's get into it. I mean, just think about it for a second. That blurry photo of a UFO, the story about a ghost in the attic, the psychic who somehow knew something impossible, we are just fascinated by the unexplained. But why is that? Is it just a bit of fun? Or is there something deep inside our psychology that is totally wired to want to believe in this stuff? We are about to dive deep into the nuts and bolts of how to think clearly about all these strange things. And hey, if that's the kind of content you're here for, do us a huge favor and take a quick second to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and lets us know we should keep making more explainers just like this one. Thanks a ton.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. First up, we're going to explore why our own minds can be so darn deceptive. Then we'll arm ourselves with a brand new thinker's toolkit. After that, we'll learn how to spot the difference between real solid science and all the pretenders out there. And finally, we'll put it all together with a good old-fashioned reality check. Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive right into section 1. And the first thing you really got to get is this. Believing weird things doesn't make you flawed or silly. It's actually a design feature of the human brain. We are basically hardwired to be fooled, and understanding why is the very first step toward thinking more clearly.
This right here is so important. Your brain isn't a video camera just passively recording everything. Nope, think of it more like a movie director. It's constantly taking in all this messy, incomplete data from the world and actively constructing a story out of it. It's filling in the gaps, it's adding a soundtrack of meaning, and it's editing out all the boring parts. Now, this is fantastic for survival, but it's also a perfect recipe for getting things wrong sometimes. Okay, here's a word for something every single one of us has experienced. Pareidolia. Just think of it as your brain's pattern-finding software cranked up to 11. It's the reason you see a face on Mars, or a man in the moon, or maybe even your favorite celebrity in a piece of toast. Your brain is just obsessed with finding meaningful patterns, especially faces, even where there's only random noise. And then, oh boy, then we have the undisputed champion of cognitive biases, confirmation bias. This one's huge. Just think of it as your brain's built-in "I knew it" filter. So if you believe in UFOs, you will remember every single strange light you've ever seen, but you'll totally forget the hundreds of times it was just a plane. Your brain is actively hunting for evidence that proves you're right and just conveniently sweeping everything else under the rug. And believe me, the list of these little mental bugs goes on and on. You've got motivated reasoning, which is where we start with the conclusion we want to be true and then work backward to find evidence for it. Then there's the illusion of control, which is why we wear our lucky socks to a game, thinking it can actually make a difference. And maybe the biggest one of all is that our memories are not perfect recordings. They're more like stories that we subtly change and edit every single time we retell them. It all adds up to one crucial point. Our personal experience can be a really unreliable guide to what's actually true. So if our brains are this flawed, are we just doomed? No, not at all. And that brings us right into section 2. We can totally fight back against these natural biases by building ourselves a mental toolkit, a set of sharp, powerful principles we can use to evaluate any claim that comes our way. This idea right here is the absolute bedrock of the entire toolkit. I mean, the bigger, the wilder, the weirder a claim is, the more it flies in the face of everything we already know about the world, the stronger the evidence has to be. You know, if your friend says they saw a squirrel in their yard, you don't need proof. But if that same friend tells you they saw a fire-breathing dragon, well, you're going to need a little more than just their word for it. Now, to really use that principle well, you have to get that not all impossible things are the same. Some things are logically impossible, like a square circle or a married bachelor. It's just a flat-out contradiction. But most weird claims fall into the physically impossible category. They seem to violate the known laws of nature. Now, could those laws be wrong? Sure, it's possible. But to overturn centuries of established science, you need some seriously extraordinary evidence. And then finally, some things are just technologically impossible right now, like teleporting to Mars. It doesn't break any laws of physics, we just don't have the tech to do it yet. Okay, so having great evidence is like having a pile of super strong bricks. But if you try to build your argument with a shaky structure, the whole thing is just going to fall apart. So you've got to know how to check not just the facts, but the actual logic holding them all together.
And this is where you can spot those weak structures. They're called logical fallacies, and they're basically common errors in reasoning that sound really persuasive but are actually totally hollow. Like the appeal to ignorance. You can't prove Bigfoot isn't real, so he must be. Or the classic ad hominem, where you just ignore the argument and attack the person making it. And the slippery slope, which claims one tiny step is going to lead to some terrible disaster without any real proof. Learning to spot these is like getting a bug detector for bad arguments.
So we've got our biases and we've got some logical tools to fight them. But what's the most powerful system humanity has ever come up with for figuring out what's true? Well, that brings us to Section 3, Science. And it's so important to remember that science isn't just a dusty old book of facts. It's a dynamic, rigorous process for understanding reality. The scientific method is basically a recipe. And it's a recipe designed specifically to minimize all those mental bugs we talked about earlier. You start with a question, you come up with a testable explanation, that's key, and then you try your absolute hardest to break it through controlled experiments. And here's the crucial part. You then share your results so that other people, totally independent of you, can try to get the same results. It's a whole system built on organized skepticism. Now, this comparison right here, this is the absolute heart of our explainer today. This is how you spot a pretender. See, science makes claims that can be proven wrong. That's called being falsifiable. Pseudoscience, on the other hand, makes claims so vague you could never disprove them. Science is self-correcting. It actually loves finding out it was wrong. Pseudoscience is static. It protects its beliefs no matter what. Science demands repeatable experiments, while pseudoscience just relies on personal stories and anecdotes. And finally, science welcomes criticism and debate, while pseudoscience often screams that any criticism is just part of a giant conspiracy to suppress the truth. Science knows exactly how tricky our minds are, and it has these amazing tools built right in to deal with it. A perfect example is the placebo effect. This is the proven, real phenomenon where our simple belief that a treatment will work can actually make us feel better, even if we're just taking a sugar pill. That is why the gold standard for medical research is the double-blind placebo-controlled study. It's a clever system designed to separate what a drug actually does from what we just think it does. Okay, so we've looked at the problem, we've built the toolkit. Now for our final section, let's bring it all home. How do we actually apply these tools in the messy real world? And why does any of this even matter? This is really the philosophical foundation of all critical thinking. Look, we're all entitled to our own beliefs and opinions, that's true, but we are not entitled to our own separate reality. The universe works according to physical laws, whether we like it or not. Gravity doesn't care if you believe in it, it's still going to keep you on the ground. These tools aren't about winning arguments. They're about trying to line up our beliefs with what is actually objectively true. So here you have it, your very own personal 4-step weirdness detection kit. The next time you run into some bizarre claim, just run it through this process. Step 1, what exactly is the claim? Get it down nice and clear. Step 2, what's the evidence? Is it just a story somebody told, or is there real hard data? Step 3, what are the alternatives? Is there a simpler, more ordinary explanation for this? And step 4, who is the source? Are they a real expert in this field, or just some random person who sounds confident? Let's try it out on UFOs. Okay, step 1, the claim. Aliens are visiting Earth in spaceships. Step 2, the evidence. It's almost all eyewitness stories and fuzzy photos. Step 3, the alternatives. Well, as you can see here, the vast majority of sightings end up being misidentified things like planes, weather balloons, or even the planet Venus. Perceptual mistakes and hoaxes make up most of the rest. The alien explanation is just it's far from the simplest one. This is a really important point to end on. The goal of this toolkit isn't to turn you into a cynic who just dismisses everything out of hand. No way! It's about becoming a constructive skeptic. A skeptic just wants to proportion their belief to the evidence. They are totally open to new and amazing ideas, but they insist that those ideas earn their belief by passing the tests of logic and evidence. And at the end of the day, thinking critically is about more than just a set of tools. It's about developing certain virtues. It's about having the humility to admit, hey, maybe I was wrong. The courage to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it's uncomfortable. The honesty to not twist the facts to fit your argument. And most of all, the curiosity to just keep asking questions and to truly want to understand the world. So, we're going to leave you with this final, kind of challenging thought. Applying these tools to other people's weird claims, that's the easy part.
The real test, the real challenge, is turning them on ourselves. So, what is one belief that you hold really dear that you'd be willing to run through the weirdness detection kit? Just think about it. The answer? Well, it might just surprise you. Thanks for watching.